Why employers hate Gen Z. Let's get into it.
According to a survey of over 1,000 hiring managers, 74% consider Gen Z the most difficult generation in the workforce. And despite Gen Z becoming one of the most educated generations in history, nearly half of all managers purposely avoid hiring recent grads, raising the concern, will Gen Z ever be able to meet employers' demands? While each generation entering the workforce has faced accusations of being late,
I think most Gen Zs, I think most of us are still like figuring out what we really want to do. And we're still like just kind of living life right now. We're just figuring it out, most of us, at least for myself.
lazy, entitled, or disloyal, the reality behind these labels is often far more complex. As the Harvard Business Review highlights, the US working age population is shrinking at a rate not seen since World War II. With 3 million fewer individuals than millennials, Gen Z's smaller population adds pressure to an already evolving workforce, highlighting the need to examine how the experiences and work habits of previous generations have shaped the modern economy. The silent generation, born between 1928 and 1945, grew up in a time of profound uncertainty, shaped by the hardships of the Great Depression and the devastation.
The silent generation is honestly the generation that kind of saved us. Like some people say that was like the government's best generation, but like that was kind of the generation that was like, all right, we got to lock in or we're all cooked.
Of World War II. As adults, they helped rebuild a society restructured around the Cold War, fostering a mindset focused on working within the system rather than challenging it. Programs like the GI Bill expanded access to higher education, fostering a workforce that emphasized technical skills, discipline, and steady progression within corporate hierarchies. Their pay your dues mindset not only contributed to the post war economic recovery, but also bolstered labor unions, securing wages, better working conditions, and the benefits that defined middle class stability. Despite these achievements, real wages have grown by only 0.7% over the
Yeah,
last 50
not that
years,
much.
accounting to a 18-cent increase as of February of
Dude,
2022,
that's
where
that's
today Gen Z
insane.
emerges as the most pro-union generation in decades, echoing the silent generation's fight for economic fairness, but leveraging digital platforms to amplify their calls for higher wages and equitable working conditions. Yet this approach draws
Yeah, that is one thing I will say. Like, not only can you use social media platforms to invoke, change, which is obviously good, but you can also use it, to monetize yourself and monetize your life, which is something that I think a lot of people forget. It's not necessarily trying to flex or trying to be cooler or anything. It's just the fact that if I can post something and monetize it for money, why aren't you? Like, it's just kind of one of those things where if you want to maybe be in the race, you gotta play the game. You know what I'm saying? So,
criticism from older generations, often perceiving the demands as being entitled, lacking patience and sacrifice that once defined the traditional labor movements. As the silent generation transitioned into leadership roles,
yeah, I could definitely say there's a lot of Gen Z people that are very entitled and probably feel like a lot of things are probably like owed to them. We're just like every other generation. We gotta work for that shit.
throughout the 70s and 80s, their emphasis on structure and discipline helped shape the professional environment and laid the groundwork for the modern workforce today. However, their loyalty driven work culture frequently clashed with the ambitions of baby boomers, whose priorities reflected
Not
a
the
very different
boomers.
set of societal and economic conditions. Baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, grew up in vastly different circumstances compared to their parents. Early boomers, raised by the greatest generation, inherited values of sacrifice and hard work, but rejected the materialism and conformity of their upbringing. By the 1960s and 70s, they led a cultural shift challenging the organization man mindset that prioritized loyalty to employers over personal fulfillment, an attitude echoed by Gen Z today. Although later boomers, influenced by their silent generation parents, lean more towards stability and working within the system, economic challenges in the 1980s, including high inflation, soaring interest rates, and stagnant wages,
Oh my God, inflation in the 80s, what? It went from 2 cent to 5? Like what the hell?
blurred these distinctions, resulting in boomers averaging 10 jobs by the age of 34, practically switching jobs every year from 18 to 24, far surpassing millennials and Gen Z at the same age. Similarly,
Bruh.
despite being framed as disloyal, 70% of Gen Z workers cite salary competitiveness as the driving force behind frequent job changes, reflecting a
Yeah.
shared focus on financial security in a time of economic instability. And the shift towards short-term employment relationships weakened the emphasis on long-term career paths. Simultaneously, globalization and outsourcing emerged as a dominant cost-cutting strategy, further eroding traditional career ladders. Companies increasingly scaled back long-term training programs, prioritizing cost efficiency and flexibility over employee development, leaving Generation X to navigate an environment.
Yeah, they much rather that's the problem with a lot of jobs these days. Like, and I hate to be that guy. They rather outsource and hire someone from halfway across the world that's like 20 years older than you to do your job because they've been doing it somewhere else already. So why not just hire Tim? Because Tim has already been doing it. You don't know what you're doing. Oh, you need 5 years experience to like do that? No, why? So you can leave my company and go make more money for someone else doing that job? No, no, we're just not gonna give you that position. No, you stay in the back. You stay in the back.
Environment shaped by fragmentation, heightened competition, and the growing demand for adaptability.
Yeah.
Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980, grew up amid rising divorce rates and dual income households, earning them the label latchkey kids. Societal shocks like the Challenger disaster, economic crisis, and political failures eroded their trust within institutions, reinforcing their focus on resilience and adaptability. While Gen Z is often criticized for seeking jobs that align with personal meaning, it was actually Gen X that first initiated this cultural shift. According to developmental psychologist Jeffrey Jensen Arnett, Gen Xers began prioritizing identity-driven careers in the 1990s tech boom, favoring roles.
Yeah, that's the main reason why we got a lot of the cool stuff that we got in the early 90s and late 90s and early 2000s was because you had a lot of people that finally were like, no, like I just want to live my like these are people that are kind of like the early entrepreneurs that what we have today. These are people that got in their 30s. They had like not necessarily fuck you money, but they had enough money to do what they wanted to do. So they finally could develop that thing or try that thing and they finally got to. They got to do it and a lot of them were fucking hits. Like you got the George Grill, I forget his fucking name. You got the Flex Seal guy. You got fucking who else you got? Bill Gates. You got Steve Jobs. You got Scrub Daddy. I don't know when Scrub Daddy came out, but you get the point, okay?
That aligned with their passions and values over financial stability. Their pivotal contributions to emerging industries like technology and e-commerce, including their roles in the personal
Yeah,
computing
Steve
revolution
Jobs,
and the
baby.
rise of Silicon Valley, reshaped the global economy and set the stage for today's purpose-driven labor market. This shift also led to a greater demand for flexibility, with 50% of Gen Xers favoring remote work, surpassing both boomers and Gen Z.
The thing that has hurt Gen Z though with this is that Gen Xers and boomers are getting all of the remote work. At least in my experience, that is the problem right now. It is as a Gen Z, it is almost impossible to get a remote job, at least at my age. But I feel like if I was a little bit older, it'd be so easy to get a remote job if you, hence pre-COVID, already had a say desk job. It's very easy to fall into a remote job or transfer from a desk job to remote and then go to a different remote job. Because if you haven't already been in that field, trying to get in that field is like walking into a fucking maze. Like, they don't make it very easy to figure out how to do remote work anymore because it's like they want to keep it to certain demographics. So I don't know. Again, that's my experience with remote jobs. And the ones that I have gotten, do not seem trustworthy. I don't know if I want to link them to my bank. So I don't know.
However, their loyalty to employers was entirely conditional, based on if their personal and professional needs were met, setting the foundation for the transactional nature of today's modern workforce.
You
And by
heard them.
demanding both purpose and flexibility in their careers, Gen X reshaped workplace norms, paving the way for millennials to further amplify these trends. And before we break down the historical implications of the millennial generation, I am actively pushing and trying to get professors, politicians, economists, journalists, and CEOs on the channel to help us break down some of these issues. If this video is providing any value to you and you would like to support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you like the video and subscribed if you haven't already done so. It truly does help when reaching out to these guests. Thank you all so much for your support. Millennials, born between 1981 and 1996, came of age during a period of rapid technological advancement and economic instability.
Quote unquote, I guess in this day and age, this would be considered one of the peak generations because they got to like grow up with tech, experience tech, but they also got to watch the world kind of like being a millennial probably does suck because you've watched the world go through so many things and your life isn't even almost over. Damn. I'm sorry, millennials.
With the Great Recession profoundly shaping their entry into adulthood. Raised by baby boomer and Gen X parents who emphasized structured parenting and achievement, millennials experienced highly organized childhoods filled with extracurricular activities and positive reinforcement. By 2008, they were the most educated generation in history, with 70% pursuing higher education by the age of 25. Yet many graduated into a devastated job market, burdened with record student debt and underemployment.
And I think that's what kind of killed a lot of the American dream, quote unquote, when you think about it. Because you have millennials, which showing those statistics, it shows that they were like the highest achievers. They went to school, they did everything right. And somehow society still failed them. So when you see that happen to your parents, or you see that happen to your uncles, or you see that happen to your brothers, as you're growing up as a kid, it kind of gives you a sense of, well, why do I have to work so hard if a system can fail and it just falls back on me? Like, that's kind of what the government built for a lot of people in their minds. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of what they did with all. I mean, can't control a recession. You know what I'm saying? Can't control that, but I mean, maybe you can. I don't know.
Nearly half accepted jobs unrelated to their degrees, delaying wealth accumulation and home ownership, resulting in millennials to reshape their approach to work, rejecting rigid
Yeah.
hierarchies and their traditional pay your dues mindset. They prioritize flexibility, collaboration, and roles that aligned with personal values. Their team-oriented outlook, shaped by early exposure to social media and their structured childhoods, fostered innovation but often clashed with the hierarchical preferences of older generations, leading to perceptions of entitlement until none other than Gen Z emerged into the workforce. Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012, entered adulthood in a labor market fundamentally transformed by systemic change and economic upheaval.
Yeah.
Growing up immersed in social media, Gen Z has been exposed to curated success stories that amplify expectations for achievement while fueling anxiety about failure. Unlike previous generations, much of their understanding
Makes 100K per day. Meet the 22-year-old that, yeah, like stuff like that. Like, this is the thing that you guys need to understand about stuff like this and videos like this is that these people that are doing this, and you probably already know this, they do not sleep well. Like, I'm telling you, like, they do not sleep well. They do not like the things that they do. They do not enjoy the things that they make. They do not enjoy the way that they live. They may seem like they do on the internet, but when the cameras are not on, they are doing the most outlandish, shady shit that should not be done. Committing fraud, committing crypto scams, doing whatever type of shit they can to make it look like they have money. And on top of that, those cars that they are sitting on, is probably not theirs. That house that they're sitting in front of is a fucking rental. I guarantee you, just like the cars. So before you get in your head and you're like, "Oh my God, dude, I don't have a mega mansion and I don't have like all the dude, stop. Like it's fake. It's fake. I'm not saying that this guy doesn't make 100K per day because if he's stock trading, doing crypto, maybe he has real estate, he could actually be doing that. But being 22, I highly doubt he's making his money off real estate unless he's in the stock game already going ham. Those cars, guarantee, are not theirs. And that's not just hater energy, it's just the blatant truth because anyone that knows anything about money knows just from them standing in front of those cars taking that picture just depreciated the value of both of them fucking cars. So it's not real. It's a facade, dude. It's a facade.
Understanding of workplace norms comes from fragmented online narratives rather than direct mentorship, leading to aspirations that often clash with labor market realities. Entry
Yeah.
level positions, once a stepping stone into professional life, now frequently require 3 to 5 years of experience,
Yep.
with 38.4% of these roles including such demands.
Dude, I've literally seen, you see this one right here, this dishwasher right here. I've literally seen a application that says must have 2 years prior experience to being a damn dishwasher. 2 years. Have you ever washed dishes? Ever? Like, what?
Rising higher education costs and diminished vocational training
Telling
have
you, bro.
further
Can't
narrowed
make it up.
pathways,
Can't make it
leaving
up.
many Gen Z candidates burdened with debt and
Real
unprepared for the
shit.
skills employers require. Federal investment in workplace development has also plummeted, falling
Dude, I used to hate these books. These are dude. That's how you can tell this is my generation because this right here is what our textbooks looked like. I hate these books. I don't ever want to see these books again in my life. Any of these, like the still shot with the bold font and the yeah, dude, no,
from $69 billion when adjusted for inflation under the
no.
Comprehensive Employment and Training Act in 1979 to just $20 billion today, resulting in the societal expectation that Gen Z will just have the necessary skill sets
Yeah,
when
just
emerging
figure it
into the
out.
workforce, when in all reality, all of the traditional avenues in obtaining those is practically impossible to come by. And unfortunately,
That's the thing. The silent generation, why they were so peak was because they advocated for people actually moving up within the company. So as you got to say work, you would move up within the company. You would do good things and actually move up. You see how that like sounds crazy to even say. It's just wild, dude. But nowadays you literally will work a job and that's it. That you there is no moving up. They will hire a fucking manager from anywhere else. They will hire outsource. They don't care who's been there longest. They will always find someone new. That's why, in my opinion, it's best to just find jobs and apply for the manager position. If you got to, just lie. Just straight up lie. It's worked for me before. No bullshit. Like, just lie. It works. Because how are they gonna they what, they're gonna call your previous employer? No, they're not. They don't even call their mom. Do you think they're gonna call your previous employer? Be real, dude.
the 2020 global crisis exacerbated these challenges. Remote education and work environments deprive Gen Z of opportunities to develop
Yeah.
essential soft skills.
And now you just have a fucking Zoom call full of fucking boomers all going over what they can do to maximize profit. Imagine someone like me. Imagine me showing up to the Zoom call full of boomers. Like we're just all like this, just chilling. Yeah, it don't even fucking look right.
Such as communication, collaboration, and conflict resolution. Relying heavily on digital communication, many now struggle with the nuanced interpersonal dynamics required in professional settings. Hiring managers have criticized their perceived inability to adapt to workplace expectations or engage in meaningful collaboration, where intergenerational mentorship has also.
1 in 5 Gen Zers haven't had a single conversation with someone over 50 in their workplace in the last year. LinkedIn research says, dude, I mean, yeah, what, no offense, what am I gonna say to a 50-year-old at the water fountain or like in the bathroom or like what, we have nothing in common. We have absolutely not, like you have grandchildren, you have like whatever going on. You're thinking about what diaper brand you're going to be buying when you get off. I'm just joking. But I'm just saying like we have nothing really in common. I mean, yeah, you could share wisdom, but at work, you want me to you want me to hang out with this dude and get some wisdom during my lunch break? Like at work? What do you want me to say, dude? Like, "Oh, I really don't want to be like you." Like that's all I can say.
Declined, with 1 in 5 Gen Z workers reporting no conversations with colleagues over the age of 50 in the last year alone. And these factors have left Gen Z, frankly, ill equipped to meet the growing demands of a labor market that offers fewer pathways for growth.
Dude, why is this like such a great representation of Gen Z though, bro? Like, dude's like sad edgelord maxing, and he's still somehow doing his job wrong. Like, this is literally my generation. I don't know why I'm laughing so hard, but
And ironically, for those that do have the ability to communicate, dress professionally, show up on time, all the things that employers actually are wanting, well, that frankly no longer has any importance on a resume. It isn't the
nope,
keywords that'll get you promoted on the LinkedIn platform, and
it doesn't matter.
likely isn't even something that a third party recruiter or interviewer will even ask for. And with the hiring process increasingly being outsourced to third party recruiters and automated systems, only 39% of hiring teams have actually received formal interview
Dude,
training. And this reliance on automated systems further just exacerbates the issue, as 75% of applications are excluded before ever being reviewed by a human, with 78% of hiring managers just.
that is something crazy too now. Like a lot of people aren't ever even with AI now being so prominent on apps like LinkedIn and Indeed, a lot of people's applications are never even going to get looked at, or their resumes are never even going to get reviewed because they're just so bad, or they're just like the job market. People say that it's going to get scary. I don't think it's necessarily going to get scary. I think for a lot of people though, it's going to get to where either they have to get smarter or they're just gonna not have a job, or they're gonna have a job that they literally have to like beat themselves into the ground for. At what point do you stop sacrificing your body like for money and a country that doesn't give a shit about you?
Predicting that AI will replace entry level jobs altogether. Now, unlike hiring managers, employers, and recruiters that have just done everything in their power to give Gen Z the ability to thrive in the workforce and are unfortunately just having to resort to not hiring any recent grads for 2025 because
Fuck them.
Gen Z in the entirety is just the worst generation to work with. Well, we now have the ability to understand the cultural, societal, and historical implications that have led us to this point. What I really wanted to get to the point of here is I wanted to show that all throughout history, patterns continuously repeat themselves.
Yeah.
We point fingers at every emerging generation because, frankly, it is the easiest thing to do. To hear them talk about the work environment is not fair, that wages need to be better, that this and this and this and this, well, one, that makes you feel like, well, I mean, why didn't I talk about it? Yeah, it does kind of suck, but I've been dealing with it, so you should too. But it also makes you think, these silly people, they don't even know how hard it used to be. Well, in reality, yeah, that's kind of the point of society. That's why you have kids. That's why you work, is to make it get a little bit easier. To
Yeah.
have technological advancements make.
That's why you have like the saying that I'm sure everyone's heard like 1,000 times is that, or strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. Um, and that's what we're in right now. We are in bad times, okay? Because strong men created good times, and then the good times came, and then the bad shit is here now because it's like that's just how it goes. I think in our own way, just like every other previous generation, we are a little cursed, but I think it will kind of mellow out over the next generation and the next because you're going to have, especially with the culmination of AI, you're going to have people that are not necessarily smart in a book sense or like a technical sense, but they're going to be really smart on how to get by, and they're going to be really smart on how to survive, and they're going to be really smart on how to learn and adapt, which is kind of what I do credit my generation to really well. Like we are able to constantly adapt through fucking COVID, through hantavirus, through wars that are like over nothing, through random shit constantly being thrown at us from the elements. We are always like somehow bouncing back and we're just like here. Even though at this point we're like the smallest surviving generation. Like shit.
Things a little bit more convenient. But the reality is there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things that people are going through, and their perspective on that is going to seem severe to them. So you have to come at them with compassion. But as a society, we don't have any idea on how to do that. So again, it's easier to place blame. So
Yeah.
why do employers dislike Gen Z? It's easy. Now, if you want to get to some of the actual critiques, yeah, Gen Z don't have the ability to effectively communicate in the workforce. Okay, so what do we do about it? Yeah, let's just not hire any recent grads. What does that do?
That's wild.
Does that help anybody? Will they now be able to have the communication skills needed in 2026? No. It makes absolutely no sense to me. What you do is you create an environment with respect on both sides and start doing some training, doing some managing, doing some mentorship to instruct, hey, this is how you communicate. Yeah, I know that you like to do this, but this is how we're going to do it. Find a middle ground. Listen to what it is that they're actually trying to say. And I am not just trying to say Gen Z are victims or anything like that. I'm trying to do a fair approach to say that what is happening is absolutely just ludicrous. The fact that for the past
Not even just a statement that he's making. He showed the statistics before we got into this into this whole, rant that he's going on right now. These are true facts. It is harder right now for any Gen Z person to get a job than it probably has ever been for any other generation. And I stand on that. And if you disagree, comment down below and we can debate about it. But I'm telling you, it is harder right now for my generation to get a job than it was for your father or than it was for your grandfather or his great grandfather. Like, I'm telling you for a fucking fact.
century, each generation is just doing this, saying, hey, maybe we should have better wages, a better work environment, a blah, 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 blah. And then the generation is, you're lazy, you're entitled, you're not loyal. If back in my day, so this just continuously happens for all eternity. Now, what is happening over here? Well, it's the very thing that you're arguing about. It's wages, it's fulfillment in the work environment, it's collaboration, it's you name it. So, what is happening? Has wages gotten better? Anything in the work culture gotten better in the last century?
No. And I stand on this with a little bit of a story time. So no one probably knows this, but in 2025, I was like bouncing from job to job, kind of like I always do, and I landed on Wendy's for about 2 months, which was absolutely a troll ass job to start with. 2 months into this job, because that's when I quit, I was trying to prepare a nugget meal with French fries for a customer in the drive-through. Our manager at the time kept getting upset with me because I would put on gloves to handle people's food. Now, for people that's never worked in fast food at Wendy's, you do not have to wear gloves to touch people's food on the fry side. So I can touch your fries and your nugs with my bare grippers. And like I can just go to the bathroom, go scratch my John, and then come back and like just grab your food up and pass it to you through the window, dog. Which I thought was gross, personally. So I would always wear gloves. Lady got mad at me, told me to take them off, told me if I didn't like it, then I could just leave. Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. Ripped the gloves off. I said, y'all are some nasty motherfuckers, dude. Walked out. Walked out.
Well, there's definitely, if you really nitpick, you're going to find something. But the reality is that what if instead of us arguing, we focused on the issue?
Focus.
But nope, them dang Gen Zers. Now, I will say, I just turned 25, so I am a Gen Zer. Impossible for me not to have some bias, but I will say, some of the worst people I have worked with were Gen Z. Now, was that because they were Gen Z? Or was that because they just didn't fit in the culture that we had? Was that just because I didn't have the patience to actually listen to what they were saying? There's so many other components. I will also say some of the most frustrating people that I've ever worked with were Gen Xers, were millennials that just I couldn't understand. So what is the common similarity among these? It's me. I am the one that needs to be making the decisions on how I handle these interactions. If you are a hiring manager, an employer, a recruiter, your responsibility.
Imagine having like just the epiphany of just being like, there's something wrong with me. And that's like that's your arg now I'm kind of lost. Now I'm low key like kind of lost. He kind of lost me with that.
Is to find the best candidate. So if people are coming in that are not effective, it's your fault. It's not the generation's fault. Again, placing blame. It doesn't do anything effective.
Are we flip flopping now? What the fuck, dude? We just is this guy like Two Face or something? Like what's happening here? Like, dude, you should have cut this part.
What I want to just also highlight, because I think it's interesting, is when you look at boomers,
He had me. He really had me. He had his claws in, and then like he was like just dropped me from 1,000 feet.
we think of boomers. In reality, there was multiple different types of boomers based on their parents, which then slowly trickled down to other components. Now, I just turned 25. My parents are the oldest Gen X, the youngest boomers, and their parents were the silent generation. When I look at myself, this analysis gave me so much clarification because the way that I was raised and the way that I hold myself in the workforce is of efficiency, is of discipline, of hard work, of impacting the providing value to my surroundings. That is all it is that I want to do.
Okay, so th this video is he kind of blurred this video, and that's why I got lost there, because it says why employers hate Gen Z. And now he's just getting like way too personal. He didn't cut off a part where he was like, this is my personal beliefs, this is how I feel about it, even though that was all the information. He kind of went into all the information, and then once he got to Gen Z, he got so emotional and he probably felt so attacked having to defend his generation that now it just kind of like looks like this. And that's, yeah.
When I and that is the same across the board with my closest friends. Now, when I look at some of those outside friends, some acquaintances that are a little bit younger, the Gen X parents, they very much prioritize work-life balance. No big deal, that's totally fine, just different than the way that I operate my life. Then when I look at the younger Gen Z, raised by millennials, they are very much prioritizing emotional well-being and all these other components. Again, not saying anything different, but when we paint each generation as Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, blah, 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 you're missing so many components rich with other information.
Yeah.
We
And I also feel like you shouldn't look at your life as statistics. And I feel like that's kind of what this guy was talking about earlier when he was saying, like he was looking at the way he was raised, the way his parents were raised. This. You can't look at your life like it's statistics and like you're a statistic. If you do, you're literally going to go kind of crazy because you can put yourself into so many boxes. I can put myself into like 1,000 different statistics. I fall under so many quote unquote umbrellas. And a lot of people hate that. They don't want to fall under any umbrellas or any statistics. Well, I'm sorry, bud. You do. Okay? If you're a human and you're breathing, you fall under a statistic. If you do anything, you're a fucking statistic, bro.
in a society that is being plagued by convenience and the inability as a society to have any discussion. We want to blame Gen Zs for the inability to be able to communicate in the workforce. Hey, as a society, we have no ability to communicate. That's just facts. You will see that even after this video, in the comment section below will be, yeah, Gen Zs are still lazy. I guarantee you, you're gonna see one of those. Or, yeah, boomers still suck. It's gonna happen. Nothing we're gonna do about it. But what we can do
Yeah.
is we can focus on ourselves and how we're going to handle each situation. And I do apologize that this stigma also happens to the boomers and the Gen X's that are getting fired and no longer able to get hired by somebody else because the recruiters, the employers, the hiring managers get to dictate whatever it is that they want to do. And all we do is we focus on this. Imagine if we focused on the issue. Anywho,
It's
I hope
valid.
this video was able to provide some value. I thought
Yeah, I definitely think that the lines at the end of this video for sure got blurred. I think he could have did a lot better with not bringing himself into the statistics. I think he could have left it, just kind of as it was. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. What was like your worst job experience? What's the worst generation you've ever worked with? What's the worst job you've ever had? And as always, man, love all, love yourself, peace, love, positivity, and don't smoke nicotine, smoke green. All right, we're out.